All right, we should be live. Hopefully, I sound okay. I say we, it's me. JP is still at work. So, unfortunately, you're stuck with just me, but we're going to go ahead and discuss tonight's episode. I already got a few texts from a couple of friends that didn't seem to like it, but I really like this episode. I mean, character development. I mean, Princess, especially if you haven't read the comics, you don't know much about her, right? Like, she's a little out there, but you don't know her. And now we've kind of got an idea of the trauma that's made her into who she is. I knew, like, going into everything King Ezekiel was doing just did not seem like King Ezekiel. And I was like, there's got to be something going on here. And of course it was, as Chris Hartwick said on the Talking Dead, a very Fight Club-esque type ending there, which of course we're going to spoil it if you're watching this but you haven't seen the episode and you don't want spoilers. I don't know why you would do that to yourself, but we're going to spoil it. We're going to talk about it. I'm Justin. If you're new to the channel, please stick around. I'm going to be talking about tonight's episode, which was episode 20. I'm going to also be going back and forth with you, the listener, so go ahead and post some questions, some comments in the comment section below or beside wherever you comment. I'm seeing it differently than I think a lot of you are. You're seeing it on YouTube. I'm seeing it on StreamYard. But yeah, I really like this episode. First time in like Walking Dead history, I believe, that no one died. And by no one, I am including walkers as well. There were no deaths this entire episode other than that soldier's pride, because Princess whooped the shit out of him. By herself. I mean, he came in armed and armored, and she still whooped that ass. I think that, and forgive me for not knowing her name or really not being able to pronounce her name, but the lady playing Princess is doing a phenomenal job, man. Just really, I mean, we've only been around Princess, 2-3 times, and I'm loving her. Like, especially after this episode, man, what a great performance. I mean, she's been through a lot, and it has a lot to do with who she is. So it's very interesting to get that. Let me know in the comments section, what did you think? Did you like the episode? If you didn't, why didn't you like it? If you did like it, why did you like it? Drago saying she's a little crazy. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. Let's see here. We've got David One Buzz. Yo, apparently this episode is boring, but I'm from England, so I would not know. Man, I hope you get a chance to see it. I think people, I don't know. It's like I've called episodes boring before. Absolutely. Actually, one of my friends texted me and said that he hated it. It didn't feel like it moved the story forward at all. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, it's somewhat moved the overall story forward a bit, but at the end of the day, it definitely moved forward because we now know more about Princess. I mean, it's like you can't win for losing. You make some episodes to do some character development and to really get to know the characters, and it's boring. You do the episodes where it's all action nonstop, and people say there's no character development. I do agree that I wish they could have somehow taken all the episodes and just pieced them together to give us, even if it was 3 bonus episodes, right? Like just taking all these stories, and if they would have intertwined them Game of Thrones style in the way that they have done in the past with multiple storylines, I feel like it would feel like it was moving along a little better for those that think it's boring. But I'm not gonna lie, I thought the Daryl and Carol episode was more boring than this. I was into this episode. I was actually digging it. Like, I never felt bored. The dialogue, just everything in it, I thought was fantastic. But Coleman Domingo joining us back. Coleman, you're in a safe space now. JP's not here. He can't hurt you. So just know that you are welcome, and you will not be harassed this night. Let's see. Jimmy Schneider. Princess is hot. Yes, she is. She is very attractive. She is absolutely gorgeous. Hot is the right word for that. Let's see. Punks and Pranks. Do you think Maggie will get Rick's comic death? That's a good one, man. I don't think we've pondered that on the podcast before, like how will they do that, or if they'll be able to. And I don't think we've really thought that Maggie would be the one, to take Rick's death. But that's an interesting observation. I don't think they would go that route just because Maggie has her own big kind of story, overarching story that happens with the Commonwealth, and everything they've set up to this point feels like it's leading her there. So I wouldn't see them doing that, but hey, you never know with the show, right? They rewrite and change a lot at times. Let's see. From my boy Eternal Wreck, been a long time listener. Did anybody get Terminus vibes only because of the rail cars? It's interesting. I was thinking about how, if Eugene definitely, but Ezekiel wasn't there, and Princess and Yumiko weren't there. But I wondered if, was Eugene getting like some like PTSD from this, because this is not his first time meeting a group of strangers and then being locked in a railroad car. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, I definitely kind of got Terminus vibes, but being I've read the comics, I know what these people are about. So it wasn't as mysterious, whereas Terminus folks were not in the comics. So I had no idea what to expect, what we were going into. There was speculation, but, without having any comic source material to go off of, we had no clue what was going to happen with them. And this, I kind of know where they're going. But yeah, definitely some vibes there. Train cars, I think, were a big part of it. But nonetheless, I could see that. Let's see here. Drago says Princess and Ezekiel in that train car look like what I imagined the Barn of Pleasures would look like. Yeah. And King Ezekiel is kind of the head of the Barn of Pleasures in our little scenarios. So looked like he was just kind of trying to invite Princess into the Barn of Pleasures. Because that whole time I was like, man, Ezekiel is not, Ezekiel can be a savage, but Ezekiel's not this savage. And then on top of that too, the moment I knew that I was right, when I was like, this has got to be in her head or something, was when the train car opens and the Commonwealth guy comes up in there, and all of a sudden Ezekiel like runs away, but like he just disappears. It's like, it's a train car. Where did he hide? I know there were like some blankets over there, and we thought but he just came out of nowhere and clocked the guy. I was like, there's no way he got hidden that quickly. I was like, yeah, this can't be happening the way it seems. Chris Saliana says, I'm not really into these extended episodes. I thought they may be setting up for the final season and tying loose ends, but I don't feel like we're really exploring what's coming for everyone's future. Yeah, I could understand that 100%. I look at it more as, I don't think that it's necessarily, I think the Commonwealth arc is definitely setting up what's coming for next season, but I feel like this is just more of slight setup, but more, I don't know. I don't want to say just wrapping up loose ends, but, yeah, I could definitely see that. You got a good point there. I have been enjoying these, actually. I enjoyed the Maggie one. The Daryl Carroll one I wasn't that big on, but if you've listened to this podcast before, you'll know that I've said that I just, whenever they have these solo Daryl episodes, love him or hate him, I'm not that into him. I think Norman Reedus is an awesome guy. I think that Daryl's an awesome character, but he just doesn't really have that power to, if it was an episode where it was just like Rick and Carol, it would probably be pretty damn interesting. Or Rick and Maggie, Rick and whoever. Whereas with Daryl, I like Daryl, but when him and plus him and Carol just kind of run around in the same circles. So I found that episode to be boring, but I've looked at these more as just like character developing episodes. I really liked, the Negan one is what I'm looking forward to the most. And then of course, next week we got to go back to Carol and Daryl land to see what they're up to. But hey, some people aren't enjoying them, and that's perfectly fine. I've been enjoying them though. Let's see. Disney Rock says, did I understand this episode? I took it as nothing that happened was real except the end. She never talked to Eugene, Ezekiel, or Yumiko. I think you're right in that, because we saw like there was no whole like where she was talking to. There was no hole she could go out from. There was no opening at the top of the car. The Yumiko thing, I don't know. I'm thinking she was not talking to Yumiko just based off of like we kept seeing the flashbacks of Yumiko getting hit in the head, and I think that was to kind of show us that that's just what she was focused in on and obsessed with. So like she mentally projected Yumiko being there, and because of the guilt she felt, because she felt it was her fault that Yumiko was hurt in the first place. That's kind of how I took it. But y'all let us know in the comments what you thought about that. Eternal Rex says, I don't see how it was a bad episode. I wasn't really expecting to get a lot of Commonwealth stuff. Yeah, I'm with you, Eternal Rex. Like I said, I've gotten texts already that were like, I am not liking, this season. Well, a lot of people are saying this season it's an extension of a season. It's not its own season. But I thought it was a great episode. I never felt bored. I think Princess is been done one of the best comic to screen justices in the show, to be honest with you, because some characters are just nothing like the comic counterparts, and Princess is if anything, I think she's better than her comic counterpart, which is saying a lot because her comic counterpart was awesome too. But I just feel like she was so interesting, and I don't know, I this might be a bad comparison, right? But like, I feel like people who didn't like the Joker movie wouldn't like episodes like this, whereas people who did would, because I enjoy kind of character study, episodes or movies. I don't have to have a lot of action, or, I like kind of these, like, stories where it really just focuses on what drives a central character and kind of what's in their head and why they are the way they are. And maybe that ties back to like my first thing I ever wanted to go to college to do was to be a psychologist. And I've always, I took some psychology when I was in the college days, and it was always my favorite subject. It's just the amount of time and school that goes into actually getting out and doing it. I just finally was like, no, I got to make some money. But so I really dug this episode. Let's see. A lot of these 10C episodes seem like filler. Victoria, also known as Vixie Bixie, they absolutely could be. And I mean, it would put it past The Walking Dead, but lots of shows throw fillers at us. I try to stay positive. I mean, I'm not saying these are all the best that we've ever gotten from The Walking Dead, but at the same time, I mean, the season was supposed to end with that finale until next season. So these little filler, and I mean, that essentially is what they are. They're there to fill in some time between, that finale and Fear the Walking Dead and then next season of The Walking Dead. So essentially they are, but I do feel like like this episode, I mean, if you connect it with, well, I feel like you were supposed to. I did. You connect it with Princess. So then in the future, if she dies or she's in peril or, we will be able to kind of empathize with her a little bit more because we know her better as a person. At least that's the way I'm looking at it or trying to look at it. But you're right. I definitely think these are, it could be considered filler. But with that said, I'm enjoying them. Eternal Wreck Princess is a babe. She is gorgeous. Jimmy Schneider says, I thought Ezekiel really beat that dude up. Like, I thought, like I said, once he popped out of nowhere, I was like, yeah, where did he go? Like, that quick enough to do that? Because it kind of came out of nowhere. And, and then I was like, well, if it is him, he's just finally snapped. But alas, it was just Princess being an absolute beast. I think it would be so dope, which they won't do it, but it'd be so cool if like we could get a flashback scene that just showed her straight up by herself beating the shit out of this dude. But we won't. Our pal Derek Patterson is here, late but here. Hey, just glad to have you, my man. Thank you so much for stopping by. Also, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thepodcastingdead. We have a lot of fun on there. We've got a couple of different segments, and I've got a list of stuff that JP has to order. And Paul, one of those things is a webcam. So definitely, hopefully, I'm hoping that next Sunday's live stream is going to actually have a webcam, which once you see my face, if you never have, you might be like, holy shit, send that thing back. But with that said, That'll be on the way. But yeah, let's see here. David, one buzz. I know it's not The Walking Dead related, but do you think once The Walking Dead is finished, The Last of Us TV show will be a success? Man, David, I am hoping so, dude. I love The Last of Us so much. Well, the first one. I haven't gotten around to playing the second one yet. I haven't been playing a lot of video games as of late. Just life's been busy. But I love The Last of Us. Loved it. I hope it is. And we got what? Pedro Pascal is cast as Joel. So that's going to be pretty awesome because I think he'll be a great Joel. And then we got what? Lady Mormont from Game of Thrones was cast as Ellie. So yeah, I think it's being produced by HBO. So yeah, I think it's going to be a success. Hopefully, and I absolutely plan to podcast about it. So we hadn't really podcasted about many other shows. We did a Game of Thrones podcast for like a tiny little bit, but Game of Thrones fans are really into Game of Thrones, like next level. So my God, you slip a character name or you don't know the backstory of the books even, whew, they'll tell you to shreds. So after like 3 or 4 episodes, we were like, yeah, this is not fun. I feel stupid now. So yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a success. Jimmy says, I'd definitely take Princess to the Barn of Pleasures. Hell to the yeah. And you'd probably be bringing along a few extra friends too, because she apparently has a lot of people in her mind. So it'd be like, never mind. I need JP here to get that perverted. But no, she definitely could get a VIP spot in my Barn of Pleasures. Let's see here. Make sure I'm not losing my place. Punks and pranks. Maybe the Barn of Pleasures is just in Princess's head. Well, it's in my head too. Coleman Domingo, I'm ready to take King and Princess to the barn. How dare you, Coleman? So you won't take JP to the barn, but you will take Princess and King Ezekiel to the barn. JP is going to be very sad to hear that. He just thought you were not a Barn of Pleasures kind of person. But now that it sounds like you're really ready to take someone there, I don't know how JP is going to take that news, but I'll try to break it to him gently. Let's see. Coleman. Yeah. Derek says JP calls first, but consent. And last week, Coleman was denying JP anything. Anyways, I'm getting off from the episode. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing because we talk about Walking Dead quite a bit. We also have Walking Dead What Ifs, which will start up whenever there is no Walking Dead on TV. That's fun. And again, check out our Patreon if you just like podcasts in general. We get a little bit more raw, a little bit more real over on the Patreon. Eternal Rex says, do you think King and Princess will ever get in a relationship instead of Mercer and Princess? I was thinking that when they were having their scenes in the car together. But then once we found out it was all in her head, they could, but I know Mercer's been cast and, they're building up for that. So I don't know. Poor King Ezekiel. All he really wants is Carol, but she's off running around with Daryl, who is busy insulting her. Not that what he says isn't true, but no, I don't know, man. I could see him sticking to the Princess and Mercer deal, but hey, we'll see. Victoria B, she wasn't talking to Yumiko. The crack in the wall she was talking through wasn't there in reality. Right. Like when she kind of like flashed and saw there was no hole there. There was no hatch in the top and there was no, boarded up hole. Cause I remember thinking like these guys to be as advanced as they're supposed to be, they're terrible at taking prisoners. Like who doesn't check the holding cells to make sure that there aren't, holes where your prisoner can get out. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense once you realize the reality. Disney Rock says, I love Ezekiel standing next to the walkers, arm in arm behind the fence, talking to Princess. I thought he was going to break out in song and dance. Yeah, I thought, too, like, he was going to, like, in her head, but I figured, like, once she dismissed the conversation, he would get, like, eaten by the walkers or something. But, yeah, it's like he kind of, like, told a joke, and it almost was like the walkers were laughing at it. I thought that was really cool. Let's see. Goldman Domingo says JP will do as I say. I mean, if you're trying to be dominant here, I don't think JP is going to fight you on that. Disney Rocks, very psychological episode. And that's what I loved about it. That's what I loved about it. I love the psychological thing. I just love, like I said, that's what we now know Princess better. And also she can kind of be viewed as like the unreliable narrator. I mean, going forward, who knows what kind of situations we could have to where like you can't really trust Princess's perception of the events. So I don't know. If they really could do some creative writing with that. The Commonwealth arc in the comics was dog shit. I definitely think I feel like once we started the Commonwealth arc and they got like into the Commonwealth, I remember having like a conversation like, yeah, I think that I could see them getting ready to wrap up the war. I mean, isn't this the end game? Finding a big civilization with lots of people where life is somewhat normal. I mean, that is kind of, and then, but no, it definitely the Commonwealth arc in the comic is one of my least favorites, especially when you compare it to such other great arcs, like All Out War in the comics was great. It was dragged out a little, but it was still great. The Whisperer War was great. The Hunters, the Governor. I mean, we had so many good storylines in the comics, and then the Commonwealth was definitely one of my least favorites. So I'm with you on that, Derek. Chris again says, I just don't see how we need more character development since we know all these characters already. I don't feel like we've learned anything post Whisperer War. Really hope they get it back on track. See, Chris, that's where I have to respectfully, I'm not going to, like start an argument, but like this, I do agree to an extent, but like we don't really know Princess, right? Like we met her. We know she's a little Looney Tunes with the whole landmine and dressing up the walkers thing, but we don't know her. We don't know what made her like that. We don't know how she got to be like that. So for me, I feel like this episode was character development for a character that we've only seen on screen, like what, 1 or 2 episodes? And I might be wrong on that, but it ain't much more than that if I am. So, if it would have been more like King Ezekiel's, and I feel like they know to an extent they get that with her. It's like, that's why we didn't have King Ezekiel or Yumiko. There were actually no other characters on the show, but Princess. I mean, we saw them, but they were just projections of her mind. So I mean, it's like we definitely didn't need more character development on Ezekiel or Eugene, but I mean, with Princess, we don't really know her that well. So I mean, I felt for her it was a little necessary, but I definitely get where you're going with that. Oh, whenever I scroll, I lose my place here. Ramen Hodges says, I think the Negan episode will be the best of the 6. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the most of us that even have an idea of like the Here's Negan comic story arc, once we found out that that's what they were doing, that's just what we've been holding our breath and waiting for, without a doubt. Appalachian American says, yes, I can't wait to see real life Lucille, who is actually, speaking of real life, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's real life wife. Let's see. Podcasting Dead, drop that link. Oh, yeah, a link that will take you to our Patreon, among other things. So, yeah, let me get that for you here in just a few minutes. I have to, let's see. Let me see. I got to try to find the link here. Let me send that to Appalachian. Could you do me a favor and email that link to me? Just email that to me, and I'll drop that down in the comment section. Let's see here. So many comments. Sorry if I missed anybody's. I'm trying to make sure I get as many as I can. Man, I have no hope for The Last of Us 2 anymore. They destroyed the character in number 2. Yeah, like I said, I can't really speculate because I haven't played it yet. It's still on my to-play list, but I got to, first off, also just get back into video games. So when Resident Evil 8 comes out, I will be glued to my PlayStation. But let's see here. Coleman Domingo says it's Ezekiel and Princess. Yes, it is. Let's see. David One Buzz. Love the channel. I love to listen when I get a chance. Hey, we love that you get to listen when you have a chance. Just squeezing us into your life at some point. I feel like if JP were here, that'd have been made dirty. But squeezing us, into your life at some point still just means the world to us. So we appreciate you, my friend. Let's see. Eternal Rec says, did you see the trailer for episode 21? I wonder if it'll just be another Carol and Daryl. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. Another Carol and Daryl, because that's what we want. Sarcastically. I'm sure the Carol and Daryl fans out there love it, and that's fine. See, and that's why I say we can respectfully disagree, because I know some people just absolutely love the Carol and Daryl stuff. And I love both characters. I just don't care about their solo episodes. But again, whatever joy you get out of the show, that's what matters. Disney Rock says, I heard that the actress that plays Yumiko wasn't even there in the episode. It was her body double with her as voiceover. She was in the UK. Good body double, by the way. Yeah, no kidding. I thought it was actually Yumiko. But yeah, I like this episode. I knew though. I knew actually my girlfriend was sitting there and she was like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty bored with this episode. I was like, I'm not. It's a very subjective thing, but I'm not at all. Like I'm into it, man. I don't know. Princess was just so show stealing on this episode. I mean, the acting too. I mean, she just all around I thought was top notch. But yeah, it does suck to think that we have 2 of these left, and then we're waiting for the last extended season of The Walking Dead. But we do have Fear the Walking Dead to tie us in there, and that could be, Fear the Walking Dead is very touch and go. Some of it's really good. I thought this last season thus far, minus like an episode or 2, has been fantastic, especially compared to old Fear the Walking Dead. But nonetheless, it's not The Walking Dead, so it does suck to know we've got like 2 more episodes left, and then we're waiting until the. No, I think they actually are starting the season 11 of The Walking Dead this summer. So, and I might be wrong on that. Y'all got to bear with me. I've had 2 days of no sleep. We went hiking on Saturday, and I've got like a little band I'm playing with. And by band, it's like me and one other person, but we were playing until like midnight Friday, got up at 5, went hiking on Saturday, had people over, stayed up till like midnight, 1 o'clock. My daughter got me up at like 7 o'clock this morning. So if I'm a little out of it, y'all bear with me. I am severely lacking in the sleep department. Let's see, trying to stay in order. Sometimes with these comments, they won't pop up, and then like all of a sudden, like 8 comments will pop up at one time. So y'all just bear with me. Derek says, in season 11, do you see a problem with the riots they had in the Commonwealth and the ones we've had last year? For this year, I think for this reason, King Ezekiel gets Rick's comic death. I could see that, right? Because King Ezekiel's got cancer still. The Commonwealth might be able to treat it, but I mean, it's kind of a death sentence is the way I took it. So I could see King Ezekiel getting Rick's death, which would be very tragic. I love King Ezekiel and I love Corey Payton, and I would hate to see him go that way, but you could be onto something. Vixie Bixie says, I'm one of them. Love me the Carol and Daryl story. I don't care if it's boring episodes. I'll take it. Hey, and see, that's the way I felt about tonight's episode. I mean, yes, by all accounts, in sense of like an action television show, yeah, it was boring. There was no action, not one single death. But like with Princess, I'm very fascinated by her character. So I found it to be interesting, much in the same way that you find Daryl and Carol to be interesting. And either way, man, I'm a Walking Dead fan. Even if the Carol and Daryl stuff is boring, I'm still just happy to have some Walking Dead on TV, to be completely honest with you. Coleman Mingo says, speak for yourself. I don't miss JP. I'm enjoying Justin's voice. It's almost to my level. Well, thank you, Coleman. That's high praise. Not, you got to miss JP a little bit, right? It's really hard doing one of these by yourself. Thank God that y'all are leaving comments and I have something to go on. Let's see. Derek Patterson, the show and Robert's last few years in the comics were quite political. Oh yeah, and that's the thing though, man. Comics, love it or hate it, man. A lot of comics are very big into social commentary. I mean, there's parallels to everything going on. in comics for sure. But I just try to ignore it and just keep it at the story itself and try to separate like what's happened in real life from like what I'm reading. And it's just the easiest way to enjoy it. Otherwise, it'd be like, oh, they're trying to push this, or oh, they're drawing parallels to that. Let's see. David O'Donnell, the whole point of these episodes is character development. Even the established characters need a reset after a break to back wars. Wait, I'm sorry. Need a reset after back-to-back wars, right? With no Rick, they have to get deeper to the PTSD they all have. Exactly, David. And that's what I'm thinking. That's why I said I love this episode so much. And especially, we don't really know Princess. Well, we do now, but we didn't before. So it's just a great way. If she's going to be a big part of going into season 11, then we've got to get to know her. And it's like, you don't have, one might argue, well, then you could have done that a little bit in season 11, but that's it. That's the last season. So if she's going to have an impact on her little bit of time on this show, I guess they just figured they needed to get as much of it out in one episode as they could. But I still enjoyed it. Let's see. Eternal Wreck. I can't believe season 11 will be here in less than 6 months. It's crazy. It's bittersweet, and it's pretty damn sad. I'm not going to lie. Just to know that we're coming up on the land. I mean, it's I get it. Nothing lasts forever, but man, I just who remembers the first time watching The Walking Dead? Like, I remember seeing the previews and being stoked, and like I think it debuted on Halloween 2010. I'm pretty sure, but like I just remember being so stoked and I remember watching it and absolutely loving every second of it. And just like the glory day, I consider the glory days of The Walking Dead to be like season 2 through like season 5, perhaps, back when it was just untouchable. It was on top of the world. Every Sunday you'd about physically harm someone if they were keeping you from watching The Walking Dead. And I'm dropping the link into the chat box down here. So there is a link there that will take you to our Facebook, also our Patreon. It's a Linktree link that I just dropped. So what that'll do is that has different places you can find us. So feel free to check into the chat section here and click that link. And if you are so inclined, please consider supporting us on Patreon, because we still got lots of equipment to buy. And man, that shit is not cheap. Let's see. Disney Rocks says, everybody hit the thumbs up. Yeah, please. It helps us out so much. David says, hi, thanks, man. I'll always try to be here and listen in. When these 6 episodes finish, what do you think is next? Do you think Negan will go his own way? I'm scared they're going to kill him. I'm hoping they don't. I think it would be incredibly stupid, excluding like maybe Jeffrey Dean Morgan's just ready to wrap up his time on the show. But to kill Negan would just be a dumb move. But some people are thinking they're really foreshadowing Negan's death here. And I'm wondering how we're going to get this back story, right? Like, are we going to have much time in the present and it's going to be told in flashbacks? Is it literally just going to be one entire flashback episode? Will it start in the future and then I imagine it'll probably start in the future, go to the past, and then jump back to the future right before the episode ends? But I could be wrong, but I really hope they don't kill Negan. I would be very, very sad. Like, it's one of the most entertaining characters on the entire show. The one character I feel could carry, if focus was shifted to him with good storytelling, I feel like he's one of the few characters that could kind of slide into Rick's spot and actually hold it down. Raman Hodges says, when do you think we're going to get the Rick movies? Man, I don't know. I'm so nervous about those, just in the sense of, when they announced them, I was hyped. And the first one was supposed to come to theaters too. I was like, this is going to be the shiznit, man. Rick Grimes in his own movie. But, now after I've seen, they did The World Beyond, whose sole purpose was supposed to connect, to the Rick movies. And it sucked. I mean, if you like The World Beyond, I apologize, but like, it sucked. Oh my God. Like, I had to make myself, even slow episodes of The Walking Dead. Next week, I'm just as excited to sit down and watch the next episode, where it's like, World Beyond, man. If we weren't podcasting about it, I probably would have gave up on it. So after seeing what they did with that, I'm a little nervous with how the Rick movies are going to go. But you know what though, Andy Lincoln is such an awesome actor that I feel like even if it is a little boring, he will be able to make it not that way. Let's see here. Derek says, thanks for doing this. It's very entertaining, and I think I speak for all of us. Oh, well, I appreciate it, man. Like I said, I know it's not as entertaining having just one guy on here, but with that said, if as long as people are willing to tune in, hey, we will be live going forward every Sunday after any kind of Walking Dead type show. Absolutely. Let's see here. Looking back. Okay, Disney Rocks. Sorry, I keep losing my place because every time I try to scroll, it moves the comments around. Disney Rock says, I'm happy we have these filler bonus COVID episodes. However, I sure hope season 11 we have more characters in each episode for the Commonwealth storyline to feel like it's really a huge community. Excuse me. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, I think that's kind of, maybe it's just like rose-colored glasses, but that's the way I'm looking at these. It's like, man, season 10 is, over. These are just bonus episodes. So, whatever I get, I'm cool with, because this was not, if COVID wouldn't have happened, we probably wouldn't have gotten these. So I'm just stoked to be getting some more Walking Dead. But I do agree now, I won't be so forgiving and optimistic if we head into season 11 with this format, of like focusing on like one or two characters for a whole episode. And then it's like, no, this is the last season we got. And this is where you need to pull all your stops, please. We've been burned by so many. I mean, you got to think the final season for lots of the greatest shows out there have just been bombs. Dexter, Game of Thrones, depending on who you ask, Breaking Bad. I mean, I like the last season of Breaking Bad, but there are some people out there that say Lost. I mean, lots of great shows have had some really rough final seasons. And I mean, as somebody who, I'm an amateur writer, but I do write, and I do know that wrapping something up is, in my opinion, the hardest part about writing. So I really hope The Walking Dead gets their stuff together and gives us just an amazing season 11. Let's see here. Oh, and by the way, that's the link there. If you look on your screen, there is the link to our link tree, where you can find our Patreon link, also our Facebook link, which I know we don't do enough with Facebook, but I'm trying to start doing more. So if we get more likes, we'll definitely start paying more attention to it. Disney Rock says, the good old days of The Walking Dead. Absolutely. Like, I used to go to my parents' house to watch it, and I actually lived like 45 minutes from them. So I would ride down, watch it at their house, and then either crash and get up in the morning and go back to my town to go to work, or either ride back that night. But I would always come down on Sunday, eat dinner, and that was the tradition. The whole family was sitting around watching The Walking Dead. This was back like the season like 2B through like season 7. I think we started kind of falling off on the family time somewhere in the middle of season 7. But for many, many years, that show has given me, I mean, that's some of the fun. When I think of The Walking Dead, of course, I think of the amazing show, the amazing characters, and the world that it created. But I also think for me, it's a really, and maybe that's why I'm defensive with The Walking Dead at times, because it's very sentimental to me. I've really enjoyed those days and those seasons. Let's see. Appalachian America says, talking to Derek, agreed, these streams are more fun than the show at times. Oh, stop it. That's not true. Let's see. Why does it keep jumping me? It's my only beef with StreamYard. Like, StreamYard is a wonderful service for anybody that wants to podcast. Highly recommend it. But my God, get your scrolling right, man. Let me see if I full size this, if that'll help. Oh, it did. Okay, so tip, if you're ever going to use StreamYard and you're going to live interact with your listeners, make sure you enlarge make it maximized before you start scrolling. Let's see. I lost my place, y'all. Bear with me. All right, here we go. Did anybody see the trailer for The Unholy starring Jeffrey Dean Morgan? It looks phenomenal and comes out Easter weekend. I love the irony of like a demonic movie coming out on Easter weekend. But yes, I saw it, and I can't wait to see that. I just hope it's good. I hope that just a lot of times when you have these people in these big shows, they'll they'll take them and use that star power and just pay them a crap ton of money to be in an equally crappy movie. And then just knowing the star power alone is going to bring people, you know, because like you kind of had that with The Boy, which I didn't think that movie was that terrible, but it didn't get the best reviews when Lauren Cohen was in it, you know, Maggie. And I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't think it was great. But sometimes they use that show star power to really, you know, get you to watch a crappy movie. But I am, fingers crossed, it looks awesome. And I'm a horror movie nerd, so really looking forward to that one. Let's see. I cannot pronounce that. Wujik. Wujok. I watched this a few days ago. Well, that's awesome. I watched it tonight. Eternal Rex says, here's Negan is going to be a home run just by the previews. It looks so good, and I think it's because I just want to see Lucille. Absolutely. And I mean, like, with Negan, I mean, I'm not going to say we haven't had character development with Negan. We definitely have, and we had time with him. But, like, I'm hoping if they do it right, and be aware, I know I've talked about some of this stuff before, but there might be new listeners out there. But, you know, you like the Here's Negan little mini series was so awesome because you really you really got to understand what made Negan tick. Like you got to you left that series knowing why he did the things he did and why he acted the way he acted. And it just was so well done. So I'm really hoping this is going to do just that. You know, by the end of the episode, we're going to be like, man, I mean, he was an asshole without a doubt, but I kind of feel bad for Negan now. Like I get why he feels he needs to do things the way he was doing them. Disney Rock says World Beyond is like dreading your trip to the dentist. It's just like a trip to the dentist. Like I would be doing something and it would be, you know, time, which I think it did come on after Fear the Walking Dead, but like I would mentally be preparing to go to bed after Fear the Walking Dead. And I'd be like, son of a bitch, I got to stay up and watch The World Beyond. I do not want to watch this crap. It's like the Disney Channel. It took over The Walking Dead. It's terrible. Vixie Bixie says, oh, Justin, no, we love you as much as we do JP. Well, Vixie, I love you too. And I appreciate that. More than you know, Vixie, more than you know. Thank you so much for just being you. It's Raymond or Ron? I'm going to call you Raymond. And if it's wrong, hopefully you'll just be able to just let me keep being wrong. No, I'm not a fan of The World Beyond. Yeah, we actually had someone in the live stream a couple of weeks ago or last week, maybe, that said that they really enjoyed it, to which, hey, that's awesome. I'm glad you like it, but I just don't encounter that often. People saying, hey, I like The World Beyond. So you're definitely, I would safely say, in the majority there. Jimmy Schneider says they were meant to be filler episodes just to give us something before season 11. That's when the action should pick up. I agree 100%, Jimmy. That's kind of why I've been a little more patient with these episodes than I would have if like we were into season 11 now, because it's exactly what I think they're doing, is just giving us something extra, because I know we had to wait for so long for that finale. And then they're just kind of, you know, like, let's give them a little something, a little taste of The Walking Dead until season 11 comes and wraps it up. David O'Donnell says, I binge watched the first 3 seasons and started watching it normally at season 4 and never read the comics. So my whole investment is in what they're doing on TV. David, what's cool about that is I did the exact same thing with Lost. Like Lost was getting ready to start doing season 4. And I'll never forget season 4. And I binge watched season 1. I borrowed my dad's DVDs and binge watched the entire show, like season 1, 2, and 3, and then like sat down and started watching in season 4. So different shows, but it's cool that we had a similar experience in that one. David O'Donnell says, also, I'm really looking forward to the spinoffs. Me too, man. Tales from the Walking Dead. I think that's going to be awesome. Done right, that could be just next level awesome. I mean, taking characters that are dead and being able to see some of their backstory, and each episode being like an anthology where like each episode's different. And I mean, I really hope the governor comes back. And I know David Morrissey said he'd love to come back and reprise his role as the governor. So I'd love to see some of the governor's backstory. Why is he the way he is? Obviously we're going to get that with Negan. I'd like to have seen when Abraham, Eugene, and Rosita first met up. We know when obviously Eugene met Abraham, but it's just still like some of their travels in the beginning. And, Rosita tells Eugene when they find out that he's not a scientist, people died trying to get you here. And so who were those people? Maybe we'll get to meet them, know a little bit more about it. So yeah, absolutely. And the Carol and Daryl show, I'm going to watch it. We're going to podcast on it. I hope it's better than the Carol and Daryl episodes. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Let's see. Does anyone else have a Walking Dead watching tradition? That's a great question. And if I were more awake, I probably would have asked something to that line. Yeah. Do you have any Walking Dead watching traditions? Like I just went through earlier, mine was, every single Sunday for years and years and years and years. I lived 45 minutes away in another town, and I would drive down to this town, get to my parents sometime afternoon, like 1 or 2. We'd chill, eat dinner later, and then watch The Walking Dead. And it was just great memories. Great memories. But yeah, what are your traditions, if you have any? Do you have like a certain something you have to be eating? A certain drink you like when the show starts? Certain place you like to watch it? Let's see. Wujik, I feel like everybody really fell off around season 6 or 7. So many of my buddies quit watching it. My family stopped watching it. I even missed season 9 to 10, but I'm back. Well, I'm glad you're back. And yes, that seems I would say it was more season 7 to season 8 is where I feel like people that I know started falling off. One of my best friends in the world, he never watched The Walking Dead. And I think at the time it was in season 4 getting ready. Like we were waiting on the season 5 premiere, and he had never watched it, had no interest in it, but he was staying at my house for a time because he was doing some work in my town. So he was kind of like living with me there for about a year or two. And it's like one night I finally got him to sit down and watch it. And he was reluctant, but he watched it, and then he loved it. Like I'd come home from work some days and he'd be there just binging it. Loved every second of it. And I can't remember if it was his honeymoon or what, but he went out of town, was out of town when the whole Who Did Negan Kill episode, the season 7 premiere played. And he tried to avoid Facebook and everything, and yet he still saw a spoiler, and it pissed him off so bad he never came back to the show, which, I feel like it's not the show's fault, but it just pissed him off so bad he never came back to it. And I've had a lot of people say that, some folks say the Glenn death was too gory, and it's like, what a spot to be in, right? If they would have toned it down, us comic fans would have bitched and been like, oh, you toned it down. It was much worse than the comics. But you tried to match the comic almost panel by panel. And people are like, what are you doing? That's way too rough. And then some people just said the emotional impact of watching 2 characters that you love get killed in that way was more than they could handle. And it is funny that, like I've never been affected that way to where like a show, something hit me so hard I had to walk away from the show for a while. But like my girlfriend was watching Dexter, and there's, I think, the season 3 finale. It's the one with the Trinity Killer, if you've watched that show. And it hit her so hard, that shocking revelation, that like she quit watching it for 6 months to a year before she finally went back and started watching it again. Just really, really messed her up. Let's see. Appalachian American Justin having StreamYard probs. Noob. Yeah. Me and StreamYard don't always get along. And no, opening your screen full screen will not fix your scrolling problems, because I'm still having the same issue. Good Friday premiere. Yep. Let's see. Fibianchi, I found this episode confusing. Did any of it happen, or was it all in her head? Most of it was in her head. And that might be, when you think about it, when the guy was interrogating her, that might be why he wasn't answering her questions or reacting to her. Because, the whole time I was thinking, damn, I've never been an interrogator, but I would imagine anybody would know if you would just answer her question, you might get some answers from her. And I mean, if her friend is, if the issue she's having at the moment is she doesn't trust you because she thinks her friend's hurt and she wants to make sure her friend's okay, and that she had this conversation with her, then why wouldn't you just say, hey, she's good. I promise you. Which he did tell her she's good, but, kind of be more reassuring that, hey, but it's like that never happened. She never had that conversation. So the guy probably was like, what the hell is she talking about? She's bullshitting me, just trying to get out of answering these questions. But no, so basically, King Ezekiel never came into the car. I'm imagining she never got out, never talked to Eugene. Because, the hole she went through to go talk to Eugene, that hole wasn't there. The boarded up hole, the hole in the wall where she got the splinter, where she was talking to, dang it. Why am I told you I'm tired, why I can't draw. But anyway, it's a conversation she was having, with, the injured lady, whose name I've said a million times tonight, and for some reason now I'm drawing a blank. But anyways, that hole wasn't there, and there was no access on top of the car she was in. So none of those three places, they were kind of like three places she was looking for escape, but they weren't actually there. So basically, none of the conversations with any, Eugene, Ezekiel, and Yumiko, that's her name. Those three conversations, they didn't happen. But what did happen, when she was imagining King Ezekiel in the cart with her, where she went full like Tyler Durden on his ass and whooped the hell out of him. Let's see. And, but yeah, hopefully that helps out a lot. But no, any character to character interaction she had with her group, that wasn't real. Now, she did have interactions with the Commonwealth, but nothing with Ezekiel, Yumiko, or Eugene. Wujik. Also, you crushed the pronunciation. Good job. With Wujik? or the Wu JK. Wujik. I'm going to stick with Wujik. David O'Donnell, all in her head except the interrogation and the end. Yep, there you go. Derek says, peace out. Love you guys. Hey, love you back, brother. Appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for, thank you so much for being such a great supporter and for listening. This is what kind of distracted me right there. WTF and a sneak peek for next week when Carol and Daryl split. She Takes Dog. It's a freaking country music song. Yo, come on now, Carol. Don't do him like that. He done lost his woman. For all we know, the only booty he's got in the entire apocalypse. And now he's lost his dog. Well, I do feel like I feel like Daryl would be a country music fan, or either Southern rock. That's a good question. What music would Daryl listen to? I see Daryl being like a straight Southern rock kind of guy. Like he's definitely gotten a little intoxicated at a public event and screamed for some Freebird. Next episode will be the worst out of the 6. I just have that feeling, but I hope not. Love The Walking Dead forever. Disney rocks. Honestly, I hope you're wrong, but I got a feeling you're probably going to be right. Eternal Wreck 94. They can film the Eugene and Abraham and Rosita episode here in Texas. Yes, they could. And then maybe you could sneak over there and get some behind the scenes pictures for us. Vixie Bixie, my tradition is to get home and see if it's up. If it is, I watch it immediately. Hey, it's a tradition nonetheless. Let's see. David O'Donnell, my tradition is making nachos or pizza. Really anything with gooey melted cheese, red sauce, and meat. My God, anything with melted cheese is my jam. Like pizza. If your pizza has a lot of ooey gooey cheese, it's going to be one of my favorites. In fact, just yesterday after we got back from hiking, I got myself a nice order of ooey gooey cheese fries at the restaurant we stopped at on the way back to town, and they were incredible. Maybe we just start doing Walking Dead at your house, David. Allie Smith, I'm late to the stream, but do you guys see Princess and Ezekiel happening over Princess and Mercer? Allie, number one, better late than never. Thank you so much for joining. And we actually talked about this earlier, and I said I could see them going that route, but being they've cast Mercer, and there have been a couple of articles placing a lot of attention on that, I feel like they're still going to keep the Mercer route. in there. But, Ezekiel's storyline, Ezekiel wasn't, I don't want to spoil the comics for anyone. So this slight spoil, 3, 2, 1, spoiler, 10 away for like 20 seconds. But Ezekiel wasn't in this part of the comic story arc. So the sky's the limit for the man right now. I love Corey Payton and I love King Ezekiel, and he's got cancer, unfortunately. So, hey, if he's going to go out, at least maybe I can get a little action before he goes. But I could see them doing like a King Ezekiel princess thing to where, like, she's already so damaged by her life experiences, and this only, starts to damage her more. But maybe Ezekiel inspires her before he dies to be better, or, not better as in something's wrong with her, but, to start letting go of some of the things that she holds on to that are keeping her back. Jimmy says, can't wait for Daryl to meet Princess. Not sure if he's ready for that. She's going to drive him nuts. Oh, yeah. And it's going to be hilarious. I did laugh quite a few times in this episode. Like when she was at the door talking to the Commonwealth people, and she's like, I'm not crazy. There's the PTSD and the anxiety and the depression, and like that part was funny. It's a couple of times. The princess cracks me up. I find when she's on screen, I'm just locked onto it. Let's see. Disney rocks. I used to watch every episode with my son, but he gave up after Rick's final episode. I keep hoping he'll come back. I told him if he doesn't, he won't get my Walking Dead comic book collection when I die. And hey, he shouldn't. No, I'm just kidding, but hopefully he'll come back around. Fibiaggi says, but could Princess have just imagined it all with her mental and physical abuse from her past? Oh, yeah. She did. All of that was just in her head. It's very, very interesting. Eternal Rex says, just saw a video of Joe Rogan saying he quit The Walking Dead because of Glenn's death. They don't have respect for their characters, he said. And that's so funny. They don't have respect for their characters. Joe. I love Joe Rogan, but come on, man. Good, like, oh man, I'm not going to even. So it would. What's funny about that is, like, Stephen Yen said, on The Talking Dead, that he had told him, like, you have to kill me this way, because it was such an iconic moment in the comics. Negan showed up and straight up took out an OG, someone we've had from the very, very beginning, and in such a horrible, brutal way. It was from a writing perspective, it was a great way to show, like, hey, this new villain is not just any run-of-the-mill villain. Like, this isn't someone who's just going to roll in, do their thing. This villain is means business, and they're going to leave a lasting impression on the series. And it's like, Stephen Yen wanted it done that way, and the fans wanted it. A lot of people were saying, if they don't kill Glenn, I'm going to be pissed. It was such a pivotal point in the comics. They better not change that up. And then, for him to be like, oh, well, him killing Glenn was terrible writing. Like, man, check the sources before you make a statement like that. I don't think they don't respect the characters. I think that they're at a very tough point I would never want to be at as a writer, a point of trying to keep comic fans happy, trying to keep show fans happy, but also trying to keep it somewhat fresh for both sides. That's not an easy job. At least it wouldn't be for me. Yumiko. Yeah, I was having so much trouble saying that earlier. Our boy Jonas Balili joins the party. Not going to lie, this was a half good episode. I feel they could have wrapped this up in the first 15 minutes. Yeah, I can see that. But with that said, I really enjoyed the episode. I'm not sitting here saying, like, this is the best Walking Dead we've ever had, or that it's even in my top 10, because it certainly isn't. But with that said, I thought it was a pretty good episode. Fibiani, do you think Father Gabriel will die at the water tower? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. They've been hinting at that quite a bit, especially in last week's episode, One More. When they said the water tower thing, I was like, oh, God, it's going to happen. But I wonder how they're going to do it. Spoiler alert, if you haven't read the comics, again, I'm about to spoil in Bad Boys, but, here we go. So in the comics, it's Beta that ultimately ends Father Gabriel. He definitely wrecks himself when he falls down that ladder. And I mean, that ankle break he gets is just brutal. But then, Beta comes and finish. I wonder if it's going to be, one of these Reapers that'll do it to him. But I am anxious to see. But yes, I do think he's going to meet his end. That was a very iconic moment in the comics that I think that they probably don't want to not have. Jonas Balili, I just wanted to know more about the Commonwealth. Yeah, I get that. And I didn't like the ending in the sense of, open the door, black hoods on face, roll credits. Like, come on, man. No, I can agree with that. I definitely think they could have kept the princess stuff, but we could have gotten a little more info on the Commonwealth. So, yeah, I could definitely see your point there. Cuckingham Palace, why aren't there any vegans on this show? I mean, I don't know, Cuckingham. Have you taken the time to, keep a journal log of what you see each character eating? There very well could be vegan characters on this show. And if I sound like I'm being an asshole to Cuckingham's Palace, it's because I know who it is. And I can be an asshole to him. Wujik, Jonas Balili, I agree with that. I wish they really brought out the Commonwealth instead of sticking everybody in boxcars. True that. And Jonas says he is was it vegan or vegetarian? Because I know there's a difference in the two. But either way, hey man, if it brings you joy and it makes you feel good, you pick your diet however you want it, my man. Eternal Wreck. I feel like Daryl and Merle went to a ZZ Top concert before the apocalypse. Oh yeah, absolutely. And a Blackberry Smoke concert. Jimmy says no vegans, probably because it's the apocalypse and you eat what you can get. But I did wonder why nobody wears glasses on the show. I guess everybody with vision problems got killed off already. I'm not a prepper in any stretch of the imagination. Like, I do have emergency stores of food, but that's just more realistic. I mean, like this last ice storm we had around my town, some people were out of power for 2 weeks. So it's more planning for that. Like, we can't get to the grocery store. I don't know. It's flooded because we do have a creek in the backyard that will multiply its size by 1,000 if it rains hard enough, and could kind of block us in, or snow or hurricane. So I do have, I've prepared for that. But with that said, I always, when we talk about the apocalypse, I'm like, that's the one thing I feel like I'd be okay on a lot of different fronts. I'm not saying I'd be the most badass survivor out there, but I feel like I've got enough skills to keep me going more than your average Joe, I guess. But then I'm like, but you know what? The second I run out of contacts or I don't have my glasses, I'm screwed. Unless everything I shoot or stab is going to come stand nose to nose with me, I am screwed, which is why I'm like, I need to go ahead and get LASIK before the world ends. Let's see here. And Jonas, just know Cuckingham Palace is just trolling with everything they say. Cuckingham Palace is just trolling. But he says, yes, they need to represent my people. Hey, I'm sure some people out there are sticking to the veggies. Coleman Domingo, sad to say I must depart. I am sleepy. Give JP my coldest regards. I will not. That will break his heart, and I don't like to give him bad news. When JP cries in my shoulder, he's a very snotty, very spitty crier, and I don't want to go through that again. So I'm sorry, Coleman, but as much as I appreciate you, I cannot deliver that message. Get a water break here. Let's see here. Punks and Pranks. Eastman was a vegan. He didn't kill anything except walkers and ate oatmeal burgers. Oh, I like oatmeal cakes, but I don't care for oatmeal burgers. Doesn't sound good, but Eastman was an awesome character. Frosty Salt says, I don't like how they're adapting the Commonwealth. They did not interact that way with them in the comic. I wish they just did a princess backstory instead. I can see that. UV, I'm here. Hey, UV, thank you so much for joining. Unfortunately, I'm going to probably be wrapping this up here pretty soon because it's getting late and I have to get up very early. But you can always go back and listen to the whole thing. But I am glad you got to make it at some point during it. Let's see here. Brandon says, that was so boring, was it not? No, I didn't think so. But I could understand where someone might get that. I was saying earlier, one of my best friends messaged me and said that he hates these episodes that like he thought that whole episode was pointless and it's not moving the story forward. And I completely see the point. With that said, I really found the princess focus of this episode to be very entertaining. But nonetheless, we're all friends here and friends can disagree. Let's see. UV, I was watching Stone Cold's podcast. Shame, UV. Shame. You're supposed to come to us. Stone Cold gets you once we're done. I'm just playing. I'm sure it's an awesome podcast. UV also says, could Eastman fix Shane's attitude down if he was at the farm? I mean, if he fixed Morgan, who was like, I see red and I clear, then I definitely feel like he could probably help Shane to an extent. Brandon, I love this show, but these episodes overall have been boring. I get the pandemic screwed it up. True, the pandemic definitely did. Fibiaggi says, it seems like Father Gabriel has lost it. Maybe he's crossed the line. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I'd say he's lost it per se, but he's definitely like, again, character development. He's just reaching a point, I mean, it's, and speaking of character development, I don't think many people, if any, have any better character development on this show than Father Gabriel. He started off as a whiny loser up on a rock, just begging for help from anyone that would help him, to a traitor in a sense, to being a character that like I thoroughly enjoy seeing him on screen and actually being somewhat of a badass. So, but yeah, I definitely think it's something's changed in him as of late, and he's not ever going to be the same. UV says that episode was so boring. Let's see. Paradise Community. Yo, finally am here. Well, thank you so much for joining again. I'm probably going to be tapping out here in just a little bit because 5 a.m. is going to get here super early, and I'm running on a grand total of like maybe 5 hours of sleep for the entire weekend. So my ass is about to pass out. But also from Paradise, I love The Walking Dead no matter what. Hey, I'm with you, my friend. I feel the exact same way. Since The Walking Dead is ending. Yep. Let's see. I'm going to go R.I.P. Shane. Goodbye, all. That's UV. UV, thank you so much for listening. Appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being a supporter of the channel. And yeah, I'll be heading out here in just a minute myself. I'm getting a little sleepy. But UV, just know I'm joking about the Stone Cold podcast. I'm not at all mad at you for listening to Stone Cold over us. You still came back. That's all that matters. Since The Walking Dead is ending, I'm continuing it as a role play. I'm continuing it as a role play series with other people. Crossover between Telltale Walking Dead, AMC Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. Paradise, keep us updated on that. That sounds awesome, and I would love to see that or read that. That sounds fantastic. David O'Connell, could Father Gabriel get Dwight's fate? I could see that. I could absolutely see that. And actually, his episode might have really been setting us up for that. Like just a changed Father Gabriel. But, Dwight, what's interesting in the comics is like Dwight's objection to the Commonwealth hierarchy made a lot of sense, though, because he came from the Saviors, right? He came from a group that was led by a tyrant that were basically forced class society. And that's kind of what he was seeing here to an extent, and just snapped because of that. So the thing is, if and I guess Ezekiel could kind of fit because he saw Negan's rule, and I guess Father Gabriel kind of, but I feel like it needs to be a savior if they're going to do that. But I mean, it definitely could be. It could be. Let's see. Where was I at? Jonas says, where would the characters be if our pandemic never happened? Not like in these episodes. It's no telling. It's no telling where we would be if it wasn't for the pandemic. We wouldn't be watching these episodes for sure. These are just a result of the pandemic. Vixie Bixie, Carol's character development is the best in my opinion. Oh, excuse me. And Vixie, you are right. You are right. I still think, in my opinion, Father Gabriel has, I think he's got well, Daryl, arguably too, but Daryl's character development kind of happened pretty quick, whereas Father Gabriel's was more natural and stretched out over seasons and times, which is real life, right? Like something doesn't happen and we just immediately are like, I'm not going to do this ever. Like it generally takes experience to really kind of change your ways. But yeah, Carol's definitely up there in the character development. I mean, went from what did Merle call her, a timid little field mouse to being the freaking eagle that eats the field mouse. Let's see. We've got one more of these. Peace out, podcasting dead peeps. My bed is calling. Mine is too. Good night. Good night to you, Appalachian American. Good night to you, Paradise Community. Frosty Salt. Fabiacci. If I left you out, I didn't mean to. I just was going by the last few comments I see there. But thank you so much for joining the podcast. Thank you so much for, as you can tell, I can't even hardly talk anymore. I'm getting so tired. One more time, I'm going to drop this link in the comments section. Feel free to head on over, check us out. You can check us out on Patreon, get some extra podcasts. We're about to, right now is the best time to join because we haven't started doing our tiers yet. So you get everything for as low as $1. But check us out on Patreon. I mean, even if it's just $1 a month, it helps us out so much, supports the channel. We got a lot of stuff we got to buy. So it helps us out a ton. Plus, we have a lot of fun on the Patreon cast. But nonetheless, even if not, I appreciate you being here right now. We'll always have this. Night, Vixie Bixie. Night, David. Of course, I said good night to the Appalachian American, Dragos, all my peeps. I love y'all. You've been awesome. Thank you so much for sticking with me and sticking with us. And we'll see you back here, if nothing else, next Monday. But patrons, we'll see you on Tuesday, I do believe. Be good. Be safe. As always, go be nice to somebody. I'll see you soon.